Deb, and
Jim.
good morning, Ola.
And you see another person there, Marie.
We have Marie
Welcome,
with us.
Marie.
As we said last week, we have a guest with us. And Ola, buenos dias, everybody. Good
Buongiorno
morning.
a tutti.
You know our little international delight. We have to get it in there. We have Marie Bush-Pinschmidt with us, and we are delighted to be in Marie's home. She's a
Yes,
lovely,
you
lovely
see the background
lady.
is different today.
The
Bright
background
horizons,
is what
a
Marie
mural. Marie
has painted.
Marie painted this beautiful mural.
Marie lives in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, and her aim is to be truly original and provide intimacy between her fans and the art that she produces. Marie's hope is that the viewer will momentarily stop and rest a while in front of each canvas, which we have all had the beauty is just awesome.
Yes.
Or find renewal and hope in the artistically developed pages of all of her writing. She's also a writer. Jim, I'm going to take it to you.
Well, it just took our breath away. We walked into this art studio of Marie's, and look at this beautiful mural that she painted. What year did you paint that, Marie? About 20 years ago?
Approximately.
Yeah. I mean, to take a wall and create such a beautiful scene, that's why you would stand by and picture yourself at that. Where did you have a specific place in mind?
Strictly from imagination.
Imagination, beautiful imagination.
I think of Italy when I see that.
Yes, it reminds me of it.
Beautiful,
The
beautiful.
purple
beautiful,
flowers.
Beautiful.
Just
In
breathtaking.
fact, we're in Italy. How's
I
that?
got a little carried away.
Well, I've mentioned to you before how I met Marie was through our newspaper, the PGA Community News. Marie's been one of our essay writers. I'm the editor. And for instance, this was her last article, and it's always called Let Me Tell You. And Marie always provides us with inspirational thoughts. So when we thought about our first guest, we said, who but Marie Pinschmidt should be our first guest.
Absolutely.
We're so happy that you're with us today,
We
Marie.
really are. Thank you again, Marie.
This is a continuation of The Power of Love, Part 2,
Part 2.
and An Inspirational Life, which is Marie. And we'd like to ask Marie a question about her early childhood and growing up in Ohio. Tell us a little bit about growing up on a farm.
I grew up on a farm, and I used to walk on country lanes and pick wildflowers and even thistles and take them home to my mother, and she probably thought they were a rose.
And what did they grow on the farm?
Pardon me?
What was grown on the farm?
We lived on a big dairy farm.
Oh, a dairy farm.
That was when I was quite young.
Yes.
And
So did you see the cows being milked?
yeah, I think I remember them even somebody squirting milk into my
Ah.
mouth.
That's a good memory.
Oh,
But no,
wow.
I really have fond memories of my childhood. We were a large family.
How many children?
But I think part of my writing about nature and why I love nature so much is from living on the farm and being around animals and, the countryside and
sure.
the quiet and the birds and the bees. And,
Right.
Oh,
Yes.
I love
So it was a
that.
part of, I don't think we lose that
Right.
as we grow older.
And it teaches you responsibility to I'm sure you had
Right.
chores
Right.
on the farm.
We did chores according to our age.
And what were your chores?
The main thing I remember is picking, you're throwing me off, was picking sweet corn.
Sweet corn.
Ooh, my favorite.
And
I love it.
I remember pulling the ear of corn down
Yum.
and pulling the husk
Right.
aside. But if I found a worm in it, I would run. I hated that job.
I understand. I would do the same thing.
And also, my older brothers would tease me on the farm. And they would put worms down my neck, my shirt collar.
Oh, they're mean. Those
And
mean
they was-
brothers.
they were
Brothers
so-
have a
I was-
tendency
I
of
was
doing that.
Abused.
Because they love your reaction. Ah, it's
So
for you.
I grew up having a fear of snakes.
Oh
And,
boy, you and me both.
But no, it was a good life. We were a large family, but later on my father died early in life, and my mother had raised the rest of us. But we all had our own responsibilities and
Right.
grew up, and frankly, I think it makes me appreciate, what you have later on in life.
Yes, and it builds character.
It sure does.
And you don't ever lose that, I don't think.
And being
I
from
still think of things like that,
What a
reminiscing, I
wonderful
guess.
way of growing up.
Yes.
I think it's beautiful.
Family and responsibility and
Right.
Right.
living off the land. That was the American history and American culture, basically.
Right.
Well, it's learning to be independent. too.
Yes, yes.
We didn't depend on other people. And,
At a very young age, you became
or the
independent,
government,
right?
or, to take care of us, and so yeah, it was good training.
So
I've
now,
never felt bad about growing up on a farm.
now, not only does Marie write for our newspaper, but she's written books. And the one that I wanted to
That's a
start
memoir.
off with was her memoir, Life Interrupted. And Marie actually painted that. That's the picture of your husband, right?
No, it's just
No.
made up. It could
Made
be
up?
him.
Okay. It's a painting of a doctor. He was an ophthalmologist in New Orleans. And I was curious, how did you meet your husband?
I met him at a medical clinic in Ohio.
Were you working there?
I worked at a medical clinic that started out with 3 doctors, and I worked my way up on the pay scale to where I was general manager of the clinic the last year that I worked, and that was the year after I married Norm, and I could no longer work because the doctor's wife was not supposed to work in the clinic. But anyway, the clinic grew to a 10-doctor multi-specialty clinic. And,
Was that in New Orleans?
No, that
Oh.
was in Ohio.
In Ohio, okay.
But then he wanted to do more teaching and research, so he started looking around the country, and then that's how we ended up in New Orleans.
Oh,
At the
okay.
Oshner Clinic first, with privileges at Tulane Medical School, and he taught there. So then the last 5 years that we were there, he was,
Did he have a private practice and teach?
at Tulane, he had a small private practice,
Okay.
yes.
I
Yes.
have a nephew who's an oculoplastic surgeon, Michael Connor, my wonderful nephew. I have a niece who's an ophthalmologist at Wills Eye in Philadelphia.
Oh, that was a famous hospital.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I remember.
Yes. My niece Christina, my beautiful niece Christina, she's an ophthalmologist and a director at the Wills Eye Hospital in Philadelphia.
Hi, Christina.
Yes.
Yeah, that was famous back in the 60s and 50s and 60s. Yeah.
And then I have another beautiful niece who's a pediatrician. So.
Wow.
Jean Marie.
Jean
She's in
Marie.
Jupiter, yes. So it's just so fascinating about living the life of a doctor's wife. And then when did you start painting?
Well, as a matter of fact, we're talking about love today. When we first moved to New Orleans, Norm had taken some art instruction in college.
Oh,
I mean, he tried a lot of different things, like flying a plane and never flying again. But anyway, there was a gallery opened up in our neighborhood. So I told him about it, and I thought maybe he might go and take some lessons in his spare time. And he said, "Why don't you go?" So before that, I'd only done number paintings when they first came out.
I remember those.
I'm
Did you
really
ever do
telling
those,
my
Deb?
age.
The
I'm
number
really telling
paintings?
my age
Adore
now.
number
And my mother
paintings.
told me later,
I
she
did
said,
quite a bit as a matter of
I
fact.
painted them. She said, you painted them all the time. You would sit and complain about your back hurt. But anyway, he encouraged me to take lessons, and I did. And the first painting I did, I showed it to him when he came home from the office, and he said, "Let's go get it framed." He should have been a psychologist.
Aw.
They encouraged you.
He encouraged me to, I think he must have seen something in me that I hadn't seen in
Yeah,
myself before.
sure.
Right. That's true
So
love
he
also.
encouraged me to do that, and but he wanted me to fulfill whatever I could do.
Right.
So he encouraged me all the way.
Oh, how nice.
And I remember him telling me one time too, he said, "Don't worry about selling your paintings now, just create a body of work,
There you go.
and then you'll be
Your body
ready."
of
Which
work.
you have done over the
And
years.
you've done
it's
it.
Which I
amazing.
did.
And for what I've seen, Marie, I'm still in awe of your work. It's
Yeah.
just
Well, thank you.
amazing,
Yeah.
amazing, amazing. No words to say.
So I owe a lot of what I've done to Norm.
Well, that's the beauty of love. You encourage a person, your partner, to be the
Yes.
best person that they can be.
Be all that you can be.
All the different fields that you're talented.
Right.
Well, I've been a professional woman in the clinic and everything. And,
Right.
I took medical shorthand and had to learn shorthand and all that stuff. But fortunately, I had good training in high school, actually. And so anyway,
And
it
then,
worked
and
out.
then you studied art with a Cuban. Speak a
Yes.
little bit about that.
Yes, in fact, this also had to do with Norm. He came home from the office one evening and he said, "Marie, Marie, I found a perfect teacher for you. And it was Leopoldo Girardi from Cuba. He had escaped the Batista regime. He came by himself, but then later he was able to bring his family. But a gallery where I had been studying at had hired him as an art instructor.
Ah, okay.
And so I studied under him for about 4 years. He taught me the technique of the old masters. He taught me portrait painting.
Oh, wow.
And you're in for a treat. We're going to look at some of the portraits in a
Yes,
short
and you'll be
time.
amazed how beautiful they are. Absolutely exquisite.
He was quite a character. And during one class, I was taking two other ladies and I were taking private classes from him. And he came over and took my brush one day and just painted out what I'd painted. I was appalled.
A little frustrating.
I was appalled.
Oh, wow, I know. I
And
bet.
I think I went home in tears. And
Aw.
but what he said to me, he says, Marie, That's what he
Mari.
got, Mari.
Mari.
if you do it once, you can do it again.
Wow.
And I never forgot that. But that evening, after the class, I went home. When no one came home, I told him about it. I was practically in tears.
Sure.
And he
Of course.
gave me a little hug and he said, well, he's right, you know. But I was
Those
kind
men-
of mad at
Those
him.
men all both
Aw.
agree
Yeah,
with each other.
But I learned an awful lot from him.
Oh, what a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had private tutelage, from other instructors after that 4 years.
Isn't it amazing how certain things stay in your mind and they just stay with you for the rest of your life? And it's a way to just keep going and make it more so because you remember that one time that motivated you.
It's amazing how one little comment can stand out.
Absolutely.
That's why we have to be so careful of what we say to people.
True.
Because one little sentence can discourage them.
That's correct.
And I just, from what's happened with me and over the years, I try not to bug people about it, but I want people to do what they're designed to be.
Right.
And so few are. I hear people all the time, I'm sure you do too, of people going through life and wishing they could paint or wishing they could write, but they don't ever fulfill it because they have
Almost
to,
like,
quote, make a living.
Right.
You know?
right.
Right.
Would have, could have, should have, doesn't matter.
Right.
And they keep
It's
putting it
still-
off and putting it off, and then the years go
Right.
by and they haven't done what they really want to
And
do.
then you say, wow. And as you get older, time goes faster.
Mhm.
It does. So I totally agree with what you just said.
But Norm did. It was love. He wanted me to be fulfilled
Sure.
rather than just being a wife and a housekeeper. Although I enjoyed that too. I got very domestic after that.
And another aspect that you inspire us, you adopted 2 children, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's
And
lovely.
I admire people that adopt children because
Yes, I do too.
it takes a special person to do that, and
Yes.
you raise them, and it's just wonderful that you were a mother and an artist at the same time, and then a writer. So
Well, I did. I raised 2 children, and
it's a boy and a
but
girl,
I
right?
took my art lessons while they were in school.
Right,
I never neglected them. The family came first, always.
right. Was it a son and a daughter?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a boy and a girl.
Or-
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Beautiful.
But see, you manage your time, which is
That's
the way
right.
to do it. Yeah.
You have to decide what you want and then make it happen.
Right.
Norm always said, find something you love to do and then learn how to make a living at it.
And that's true.
I love that.
And really, you have to read Life Interrupted. Life Interrupted by Marie, because it's her memoir, and some of this actually brought tears to my eyes when I read it. I mean, you're such a wonderful writer.
Well, some people, in fact, I had a friend said she didn't even want to read it because she thought it would be sad. My husband, being an ophthalmologist, ended up with an eye condition that caused him to have to give up his practice at Tulane. And but the book is not a
No, it's
You're
not a
joking,
sad
Mom.
book. I just meant the emotion that is
That's
evoked
involved,
in
right.
the book.
Right.
Would at points in time brought tears to my eyes.
Right.
Just the feeling that you emote from this.
But
your
mainly
writing.
I wanted people to see that how you could have these trials in life, terrible things happen to you, and it was a terrible shock to him.
Right.
Shock to him.
Right.
but you can't overcome it. But it's how you handle it, and how he handled it absolutely amazed me.
Yes.
Because he never blamed God, and the main comment he made to me later on was, I just feel useless, you know.
Right.
He wasn't. He overcame all the problem except for the visual field problem,
Yes.
which caused him to not be able to use the instruments.
And you'll find that out
But
further in this book.
It's
Yes,
just an
it's wonderful.
encouraging book for
Yes.
people who have difficulty.
Beautiful, Marie.
At what point did you write that book? I don't remember.
I wrote that in about 80, I think. I'm not sure when it was
Okay.
published now.
Okay.
In fact, when I wrote that soon after he died. He died in 2000.
Oh, okay.
And I wrote the book not even thinking about publishing it. And a neighbor read the manuscript and she said, you have to get this published. So that's how that happened.
Beautiful. And then when did you start writing novels? And which was the first one you wrote?
I started writing shortly before, a few months before Norm died.
Okay.
Not actually writing, but I took a 2-year writing course, a correspondence course, and had a very good instructor. And so I would do the lessons, assignments, and send them to her, and she'd critique them, send them back.
And I think I read were you 68 when you started writing?
About 68,
So-
yeah.
That's an inspiration you can start at any point in your life. And I often say you don't retire, you rewire, because you don't
I love
stop.
I love that.
Yes,
yeah,
you don't
I do.
stop
You
doing
don't
what you
retire, you
just-
rewire. Now
you-
that's going to stick in my mind. I
You
love
just
that.
divert your attention to another
Right.
artistic craft or
Right.
creative entity or another profession. I mean, there's so many things we can do in life at different stages.
I never dreamed that I would do what I've done since my husband died in 2000. So you don't ever know.
Right.
You never-
Well,
Follow
I have the books here
follow-
because I want to point out the novels that
Follow your
Marie
gut.
has written. Was Man on the Balcony the first?
Man on the Balcony was first. That
Okay.
takes place in this area.
Okay.
Oh, I
See?
And
Man on the Balcony, and once again, Marie painted that cover.
you want to know why I painted that? Why I wrote that book?
Yes.
I was reading in bed one night. You sure you want to hear this?
Yes, I want to hear it.
I
I'd
hear
love to
every
hear it.
word.
And I've always been a big reader. I love reading. And
Wonderful.
anyway, it was a modern novelist. And about on the 5th page, there was explicit sex. And I'm not a prude, but it sort of made me mad because there was no reason for it. You know,
Right.
I like to write about love. And I remember throwing the book aside. I'm going to see if I can write a novel.
Wow.
And
That-
have
See
it suitable for all ages.
Right.
Love
And,
it.
but it'll be about love, but not, sensationalism. So that's how I came to write.
Timing.
Tell us briefly about the character in this book. The
Which one's that man on
Man on the Balcony.
Man on the balcony.
Maggie
Well, there's a
Swanson.
lot in this book about art. It's a love story, and it starts here in this area, but then it moves to New Orleans, and it's just a part that art played in their life, and
You have to read it in order to. It's a wonderful. I over the past 8 years, I was traveling quite often on airplanes, so I would bring your books because I'd have 2 or 3 or 4 hours to read, and it would give me the ability to do that. And it just number one, the trip went by so fast because I was so engrossed in Marie's books. But they're really a wonderful read. So we have Man on the Balcony, and then Maggie's Retreat.
Maggie's Retreat is a sequel. To Man on the Balcony.
Maggie's Retreat, and once again, look at the artwork.
So see the love scene in the first book.
So Maggie
It was a love story, but they were separated. And I won't tell you why, but
Right.
anyway, for a long period of time. But serendipity kind of plays a part in it, and they reunited with it. So this is the story of the woman
Yes.
and
Maggie's Retreat.
what happened with
Oh,
her
I know
later.
what books I'm buying.
Then we have Spanish Moss.
That's a separate one.
Spanish Moss.
It's about a doctor and who lives in New
More
Orleans,
beautiful art.
and that takes place entirely in New Orleans. And so yeah,
And then
that's my last novel.
Decent Deceit. Tell us a little bit about the
Well, the
storyline.
main character in that was deceived by his adopted parents, and he was an adult before he learned of his true heritage. And so it's a story about him sort of reinventing himself.
And it's another wonderful read.
He
You
was-
wouldn't put this book down. It was hard for me to stop reading.
He was in a
Destiny
profession he
of
wasn't happy
Deception.
in, and decided to reinvent his life.
And see the artwork, it also reminds me of our Bright Horizons.
That's right. That's right.
And you're writing the sequel to this now, right?
I have about 100 pages written.
Imagine. I can't wait till you release that book.
Marie, where do you find the time? You're
Well, as I
amazing,
told
an
you,
inspiration, Marie. You
Well,
truly
after my
are.
husband died, in fact, I was sitting right at the table. I thought, I can sit here and I can stagnate, or I can do something about it.
And he's
So the
been with
first
you
thing I
all
did-
along,
First thing I
cheering you
did,
on.
I had been doing all the driving because Norm had a vision problem, and I decided that I was going to make a trip all by myself for a change,
Oh, how nice.
So I planned a trip to Ohio to visit my family, and I said, I can do it. So I got me some books on tape and my cell phone, and took off to
You
Ohio.
did it.
And I
And
remember
you
driving
did
into
it.
my brother's driveway, and I said, well, the old lady did it.
Oh my goodness.
So then that sort of took my fear of the future away. I knew I could go ahead and have a life.
It's a beautiful story.
I love that, Marie. I absolutely love that.
And as we said, as a child, you had independence instilled in you growing up
Right.
in the environment on the farm and with your loving family. So it prepared you for the future that you had ahead. And then I have to mention this book too, because after the novels, a lot of people started saying that you should put your essays together, right, in a book.
Yes.
And this is the one I've been reading to you for weeks, Out of My Mind and Into Your
I
Heart.
so love this.
And we just look at the beautiful painting there. We just saw that, and we'll show it to you, the actual painting. But this has poems and essays. And
Out of my mind and into your heart.
Deb's going to read one now called "Now I Know."
Okay. Now I know. I didn't know our time would just. Oh my goodness, my readers aren't on. Anyway, I didn't know our love would last when I said I do to you. I didn't know if things went wrong or our love would see us through. I didn't know you would still be handsome when I'd be wrinkled and gray. I didn't know if our interest would change, if our dreams would be the same today. I didn't know if we would be lucky and have a child or two. I didn't know if life would be an adventure, if our skies would always be blue. I did know our love was unlike any other I had known in the years before. You were witty and smart and honest. How could I ask for more?
Brings tears to your eyes.
I'm going to start to
Yeah.
cry. Why'd you say that, Jim? My
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
I did know our future was uncertain, but you were caring, loving, and kind. I know the meaning of life would be less if our love was left behind.
Isn't that beautiful? It just touches
Now I know. Oh, Marie, I am sitting here with tears. What a beautiful.
Well, you're making me cry too.
you.
Oh my goodness. What can I say?
When did you write that? Do you remember?
I don't remember exactly.
Just
So beautiful.
Isn't that a gift? Marie is just a gift.
I just get an idea, and then it.
And you share it with the world, which is beautiful. Not only does Marie write for the newspaper, but you've released your essays online. Or tell me a little bit about the exposure that they receive. How have you released the essays?
I used to write for the Associated Content
Oh,
on
okay,
the web, but I don't do that any longer.
Okay.
But I have written some articles for magazines, like art magazines. They've published several things, like the Writer's Digest,
Right.
and in some other magazines. But then when I started writing my memoir and doing the books, then I no longer even try to publish in the
Right.
magazines. You can't do it all, you
Right.
know.
Marie just amazes me. The more I hear about everything you've done, Marie, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to read another excerpt from this book, an essay called Love Changes Things, because once again, The Power of Love, Part 2 is today,
Part 2, Power of Love.
and an inspiration that we have with us, Marie. Love changes things, how we live and how we die. Only a few pass our way and make a difference, like how we spend the rest of our life. My love taught me about mature love, love in old age, and how the feeling never dies. Children taught me to love in a different way, a love with responsibility. What about love of self, a taboo word in Dictionary of Life? Love is giving more than receiving and doing for others without the thought of gain glory. Self-love is necessary, but with humbleness, we can love ourselves for our honesty and willingness to do for others. We can love ourselves for giving life our best shot, not for quitting when the tasks become tough. No matter what, we must continue to love because love is what makes life alive. Living may be heartbreaking or kind, but it's a life worth living if rooted in love. Love is the glue that holds it all together and meshes us into one.
Oh, is that beautiful? The glue that holds it together.
You've got to read this book. I can't say it enough. Out of my mind and into your
And
heart.
every week that we come to you, we will be reading
Yes.
more and more on this book. So be ready.
And
be
the beauty
prepared.
of it, it's
Yeah.
poems and essays. So
That's
if
right.
you have
And it
5
relates
minutes,
to everything.
if you have 5 minutes, you can read this. If you have a half hour, you can read. That's the beauty of the compilation. And thank you for putting it.
All the books are
Out of
still
my
available
mind and
on
into
Amazon.
your heart and into all of your hearts. Please
All of
pick
these-
up a copy.
All of these books are available on Amazon. And you also have
Absolutely.
your website, mariepinschmidt.net.
Yeah, I'll probably be doing more on my website now that I have more time.
good.
It's just mariepinschmidt.net. Or if you just Google my name, it'll come up.
Now we wanted to take you to another room here because we want to show you some of the beautiful
Yes.
artwork that
Yes.
Marie has. And it'll take your breath away. Portraits and beautiful scenes. And I mean, just look at this beautiful mural. I mean, that's not, I don't know if any of you have ever attempted to paint. Painting is one thing on a canvas,
Mhm.
but to plan it and to paint it, and it's so beautifully realistic.
It is.
I'm in awe, Marie. I mean, it's just,
Well, it's like painting miniature paintings too. You just use smaller brushes.
right. And then we even have
I see her brushes over here.
Marie's brushes.
You see all that? My goodness gracious.
And then
Some
look
of
at
them
look
are
This
Yeah.
is
up
her
on
studio.
up on the ceiling. Marie painted
and
the
her
clouds.
kitchen, yes.
It's just amazing.
That's
We're
all
so-
I do when I do
We're so happy.
The feeling of warmth, Marie,
Yes.
I have to say, the moment I walked in, and I want to say what a pleasure it's been to meet with you. And
Thank you.
Jim has gone on and on about you, and I'm so delighted. Thank you so much for having us in your home. I find you to be a delight and a warm blessing in my life. And I really am looking forward to knowing you more and just thank God for you in my life.
Well,
Thank you.
I appreciate getting to know you better and to see a new side of Jim.
And while we're here, let's sing a song. This is going to be
This
a new
is
one
gonna
for
be,
us.
no, I don't know what the tambourine is. I don't think we really need it right
that's
now.
okay. No.
That's okay because we're gonna sing together.
This inspired us from Dean Martin.
That's right, and we know how this goes.
Everybody loves somebody sometime. Everybody falls in love somehow. Something in your kiss just told me that sometime is now. Everybody finds somebody sometime.
Please.
There's no telling where love may appear. Something in my heart keeps saying, my someplace is here. If I had it in my power, I'd arrange for every girl to have your charms. Then every minute, every hour, everybody would find what I found in your arms. Everybody loves somebody sometime. And oh, my dreams are overdue. Your love made it all worth waiting for someone like you
and you and you.
And you.
We love you, Marie.
Thank you, thank you.
Just a
you so
beautiful,
much.
beautiful experience here today.
Everybody loves somebody sometime, and we have to keep that in mind. Love everybody every day.
We're going to go now. We're taking you with us. We're going into
We're gonna
the
go look at some
next
of Marie's
room.
gorgeous canvases. So come with us,
Gotta be
everyone.
careful because I've got to unplug.
Well, we're unplugging and walking, so.